What is up, YouTube? And today we have another tier list for you guys, and this is going to be for Moonlight 5-star units, specifically for PvP. And as with most of the tier lists that we're doing recently, we have 6 tiers, right? We have the meta tier. These units will be the top of the top. You'll see them pretty much all the time. The decent tier, these units are still pretty good, but just won't be seen as much as the meta units. The okay tier, these units are just okay. I'd say like pretty mediocre, but technically usable. The niche tier, these units can be used in specific scenarios only. The cleave tier, these units are going to only be for cleavers. And the bad tier, these units desperately need a buff. So this tier list will pretty much encompass all of PvP, right? Arena, Guild Wars, and World Arena. So keep that in mind. It's not a RTA only tier list. It's going to be for all of PvP. So starting off, we have Abyssal Euphine. Pretty easy meta tier. She's probably one of the best, if not the best, ML 5-star in the game currently. She is super strong with her win condition with her S3. She is super tanky, she does a ton of damage. If you put her on lifesteal set, she's really annoying as well. So for that reason, she lands her spot at the top of the list here in the meta tier. Ainz, honestly, I want to put him in bad. I think you can technically use him if you have him on like a high effectiveness abyssal build or like a fast build to actually land his S3. The thing is, his S3 can still be resisted by 15%, which is super annoying, and he really requires a ton of stats. You need effectiveness, you need effect resist, because you want him to stun with your S1 and you want him to land your S3, but you also want him to have effect resist to keep his counterattack stance up, and because of that, you also want him tanky, so it's pretty hard to build him, so I think he's a bad unit, definitely needs a buff. Next, we have Ambitious Tywin. With the release of ML Politis, he is pretty much everywhere in Guild Wars defense. You see him a lot in RTA, and also regular arena as well. So for that reason, he's going to be in the meta tier. Very, very annoying to play against because he has that stun, he steals your souls, he has a defense break, right? And just does a ton of damage and can cleanse his team. So for that reason, we have him in the meta tier as well. Apoc Ravi. Honestly, this unit used to be like one of the best, if not the best, but with the power creep, I'm just going to put her in okay. I don't think I can put her in bad because she's not really bad. She's just kind of power crept and needs some help. So we're going to put her in the okay tier. Next, we have Arbiter Villager. Used to be a bad unit, or I guess like a niche unit against like Cleave, but he's okay now, mostly because Blood Moon Haste got buffed, and they actually synergize pretty well together because Arbiter Villager dies very quickly, and Blood Moon Haste kind of wants an ally to die very quick, so his S3 ramps up with the passive. So we're going to have him in the okay tier. Synergizes very well with Blood Moon Haste. This is Archdemon's Shadow. She's going to be niche, mostly against units that really rely on their S2 passive, right? For example, like Spirit Eye Celine and stuff like that. Even Edward Elric, she's pretty good against, so we're going to put her in the niche tier. If you pick her against those units, she's very strong, but just blindly, she's not really a unit you can pick. So we're going to keep her in the niche tier for now. Architect Leica, mostly a cleave unit. Honestly, you can pick her outside of Cleave if you pick her with like strays and try to force the enemy to ban one of them or speed contest you. So for that reason, I guess I'll put her in decent. I don't really think she's a Cleave only unit. She is definitely more than that. You can definitely pick her in standard drafts and punish slow teams very easily. But if you do pick her and she goes through, she just one-shots a unit. She's very strong. So I'm going to put her in decent. Astromancer Elena, one of the best Cleave units in the game because she can actually stop counterattacks. So we're going to put her in the Cleave tier. Definitely a powerful Cleave unit. Bellion, I'm going to put her in decent. I don't think she's like super meta because, she does get countered by like Rowana, even Lone Crescent Bologna, Lionheart Sirmia, Navy Captain Landy. But against Cleave, she's very strong and she can also be used mostly against, slow teams if you put her on injury and stuff like that. Honestly, I kind of want to put her in niche because she's mostly against Cleave. Yeah, let's put her in niche for now. I don't think she's as strong as before. She has pretty decent counters. So we're going to put her in niche for an anti-Cleave unit. Blood Moon Haste. Honestly, I kind of want to put him in meta, but I don't know if he's that powerful. I think he's just decent. Mostly because he does get countered by Savior Aiden. He does get cleaved pretty easily still if you actually focus him down. But his Blood Aura passive is very strong. It makes his S3 hit like a truck. But I don't know if he's good enough to be meta, but he's definitely strong. So I'm going to put him in the decent tier. Briar Witch Assaria, definitely a meta unit. Counters evasion units, counters revive units. Just is super annoying. She has has access to Guiding Light because she's a ranger, which makes her super tanky. So we're going to put her in the meta tier as well. Just very good overall. Closer Charles, with Commander Pavel, both Cleave units. Pretty much nothing else to say. They're just good in Cleave. If you Cleave, you probably know how they work. If you don't Cleave, you don't really need to know. But basically, Coder Charles is a good bridge unit. And a bridge unit is something that goes like second to actually push up your team even more. And Commander Pavel is also a very good unit to go like third or second, where if you crit twice, Commander Pavel pushes up, one-shots the unit, very strong. Concorlius, definitely a meta unit. I don't know if I put her above Ibisufine, but probably here. She's very good in aggressive comps. She kind of fell out of the meta for a bit, but now she's back. It's mostly because like the meta has definitely sped up, and when metas are fast, Concorlius is very good because she's also a very fast unit. Dark Corvus, niche unit, good for Guild Wars offense, good against very slow teams, but besides that, not really that great. Death Deal Ray, another meta unit. Honestly, I hate this unit so much. I ban it every game in RTA, but he's so annoying, right? He has that sleep. He has a ton of like indirect damage with his venoms and his detonates, and the sleep is like super annoying, so I'm gonna put him in meta. Desert Jewel Bazaar, niche unit against barrier units, just because, yeah, that's all he really does. He CR pushes with immunity, but mostly gonna be used against barrier. Next we have Designer a little bit, also a good anti-cleave unit, especially against a ton of debuffs, very good there. Dragon Bride Senya, she's not out yet, but I do believe she'll be like decent. I don't know if she'll be like super meta, but at least she'll be like somewhere around here, so I'll put her here for now. Dragon King Sharoon, honestly I want to put her like decent because I've been having a lot of success with her, especially if you pick her in the new RTA format with the band protection. If you pick her into a team with a lot of stuns, or even like AOL even, and you just pick her on 3 and band protector, she is super strong. But I'm just gonna still put her in. Actually, you know what? I'll put her in decent. Hot take. She's obviously a niche unit against stuns and stuff like that and sleeps, but I think in the current ban system for RTA, you can actually manipulate it so you can always, activate her passive, or if you don't activate it, deny the enemy from using a lot of their key skills. And in Guild Wars offense, she is actually pretty strong. Eternal Wanderer Ludwig, one of the best cleave units in the game. Not much to be said. She just kind of, he just kind of like destroys a ton of units with the soul burns into his S3. Faithless Lidica, another aggressive unit. I wouldn't say she's cleave, but she's kind of aggressive. I'm gonna put her at the top of OK or somewhere around here. She is still pretty good, but it's hard to make her work because she has really high gear requirements, but she's very good at resetting units. Fallen Cecilia, pretty bad, needs a buff, just kind of not that great. Same with Judge Kisei, two just pretty meh units that need to be buffed. Lacerated Crow, definitely a decent unit. I would even say like he's probably meta, to be honest, so I'm gonna put him in meta. He is very strong, right? He does a ton of AoE damage, a ton of mitigation as well. Actually, I'll put him in decent just because the meta has sped up a bit, and Lacerated Crow kind of feels like he fell behind a little. You can argue for meta, but I'm going to keep him in decent, at the top of decent. Lionheart Sirmia, definitely a meta unit. Just counters a ton of units with counterattacks, pretty much. Enough said, right? She just counters like Navy Captain Landy, Lone Crescent Bologna, even like Zio, even Laia, right, with the dual attacks, and Concorlius, so she's definitely a meta unit. Little Queen Charlotte, I'm going to put her in OK. Even after her buffs, she doesn't feel that great because she needs another unit to help her get pushed up, so I'm going to put her in OK. Lone Crescent Bologna, another meta unit, destroys anything with anti-crit. It's just a very good solo DPS. Now, she does get countered by some units, such as like Rowana or Savior Aiden, but I still think she's a pretty decent option. Maid Chloe, I want to put her in OK. I don't think she's bad, right? You can still use her, but she is pretty slow, and the meta is a little bit fast, like I mentioned a couple of times. We're gonna put her in OK for now. Martial Artist Ken, I think he's decent. I don't even think he's like niche, because like a lot of units crit. He's very good against crit units. You can see him, against like Lionheart Sirmias, he's very good. You can see him against like Navy Captain Landy's, obviously he's very good. But the only thing is he gets one shot by Savior Aiden, so you have to be careful about that. But besides that, he's a pretty decent unit, I'd say. Meter Carrick, same boat, pretty decent. Cleanser, honestly, he's been kind of even better now because there's like a lot of debuffers, but I'm gonna put him in decent. He's always a solid debuff cleanser, and he does decent cycling, has a really strong S2 with that attack down, huge damage and barrier, and it's just a pretty solid, ML 5-star unit for PvP. Navy Captain Landy, always will be meta, I think. Her passive is just too strong. Her S3 is game ending, so I'm gonna put her in here. Now, she does get countered by units like Lone Crescent Bologna, Ikarina, like Rimuru and stuff like that, but still, she can win against her counters, so just because of that, I'm going to put her in the meta tier. She's a pretty strong damage dealer, I'd say. A little bit behind Ibisufine, but still, nonetheless, probably on the same tier. Operator Cigarette, pretty niche unit against barriers, mostly used for cleave aggression. Pirate Captain Flan, I'm going to put her in the decent tier. I think, you know, most people would put her here, but I think she's very good at locking down certain units. Obviously, that's what she does with Summer Time Mysterious Artifact, but if you pick her in the right comp against the right comp, she can just literally solo win you the game, so I'm going to put her in decent tier. Remnant Violet, can't put him anywhere above okay because he's too RNG heavy. When he counters and dodges, he's pretty broken. When he does none of that, he's useless, so we'll put him in the okay tier. Requiem Rowana, another very powerful Cleave unit. I think she's going to be one of the best because the reset's so strong. After the buffs, her damage is pretty solid, so we'll put her in the at the top of the Cleave tier. Ruel needs a buff. She just kind of doesn't do anything, so too slow as a Soul Weaver. Her revive is great, but you know, besides that, she doesn't really do anything, so we have her at the bad tier, or I guess please buff tier, right? Sage Ball, very good anti-Cleave unit, one of the best in the game. We're going to put him in the niche tier. After his buffs, he's very strong, so definitely a good anti-Cleave unit. See Phantom Politis, probably the best ML5 star in the game right now. She enables a ton of units, like she makes Ambitious Tywin really strong, like literally broken. She makes Janua from like very strong to like Giga OP, and she is just super strong as a standalone unit as well. Rage is just really broken, right? You just CR push back the enemy, decrease the speed and of the enemies, and then buff the speed of your allies with attack, which is insane. So we're gonna have her in the meta tier. Her dual attack super strong. Her strip on her S1 is ridiculous. She has built-in guiding light with that stealth in her S2, so definitely meta unit. Silverblade Aramentha, pretty good CC unit. I wouldn't know if she's like niche. I think I'd put her in like okay. If you build a team comp around her, she's okay. But anything that counters debuffs or stuns, like Dragon King Sharoon, Edward Elric, you have to be careful. Solitary of the Snow, very good niche unit against units that use Fighting Spirit. Besides that, not that great. Specimen Says, pretty okay unit. You know, I'd say if you build a team comp around him, he's pretty good. If you don't, he's pretty useless. But he's very similar to Silverblade Aramentha, where he gets countered by any teams or units that, you know, destroy stuns. Spectre Tenebria, always a decent or above unit. I wouldn't say she's like meta anymore because there's way too much AoE in the game now for her to be good. So I'm going to put her somewhere around like here. I think she's still pickable, but she's not like as broken as before. Spirit Eyes Celine, also I'd say a decent unit. Do I put her in niche? No, I'm just going to put her in decent, just because I was thinking like she's very good against, you know, teams that don't have extra attacks or like extra fixed damage. But honestly, even against those teams, she can be okay. Her S3 is very strong. She does a ton of damage, and you know, if she procs that Dust Devil artifact, which she is usually on, she can one-shot a tank unit even, so she's pretty ridiculous. Strays, decent unit alongside Architect Leica. Now you don't see him as much once you have crazy gear, but once you get to like the higher ranks and you see people with ML Leica and Strays, very common to see these units picked together to have the enemy ban one of them, and then the one that's left will one-shot, you know, whatever slow unit is left. So I think he's a decent unit, just, you know, not as played as often, but with the current meta speeding up, he is seen a little bit more than before. Sylvan Sage Vivian, honestly just bad. Like, I love using this unit, but she just needs a buff. She just dies to everything with fixed damage. She doesn't do enough damage. Her mitigation is nice, but like, you know, it's not that great. So we'll put her in the bad tier. Tom Luca, definitely a Cleave unit now, I'd say. Very aggressive unit. Very strong now, I'd say, if you have her on crazy gear. If not, she's, you know, just okay. But I've seen very crazy ML Lucas at like 280 speed, like almost 290, just like one-shotting, which is crazy. And the stealth is very annoying as well. ML Kayron honestly needs a buff as well. His buffs didn't really make him that much better, so we'll put him in the bad tier. Urban Shadow Shu, definitely a meta unit. Super strong, you know, injuries are very powerful, and then she can heal herself. She has detonation with injuries. She has a speed buff. She has AoE, injury, fixed damage, which is insane. So for that reason, we'll put her in the meta tier for sure. And of course, Zio, fastest unit in the game, always going to be meta unless something comes out that is faster than him. Somewhere around here. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this ML 5-star tier list. If you guys have any disagreements or think something should be changed, just let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next video.